Right, so moving down to your second top. Yeah, the runner up of your favourite stadiums. Who have we got?
It actually ties in well to the Gillingham playoff final because the next stadium is actually Gillingham Stadium, Priestfield. If anyone's been to Gillingham as a place, they will know it is an absolute shithole. It's probably one of the worst places I've ever been to. So, like to get to Priestfield, what I'd usually do is I lived in another terrible place in Kent. I'm not giving Kent a good rap here, but it's got good places as well. I get the bus from Chatham, which is an even worse shithole, arguably. You'd get off. Again, you couldn't quite see the ground. It wasn't like a Old Trafford or Wembley kind of vibe where you can see it. You get off at the bus stop, start walking down. You usually would go get some like fish and chips before the game, and then you do see it, and all around it is basically just like terraced housing, just the kind of it's just not a very nice area. It's like it's weird. It's just this grim area, but then there's just a football stadium plonked in the middle. Like it just doesn't. It's not united anyway. It's just very strange.
How big's the stadium?
It's 10. I think it's like 12,000 capacity. So bigger than Bournemouth Stadium,
Wow.
Who were a Premier League club for quite a long time.
That's good reference for people.
But yeah, my abiding memories of like walking towards it were, I mean, you get the anticipation. Obviously, you do finally start to see it as you get closer. The little club shop's quite interesting. Got a nice little Gillingham scarf from there before. I did also used to go to the little Jill's bar before. I think it's called the Blues Bar, which is decent. You'd go in there. There'd be like the 12:30 game before the 3 o'clock. This was like teenage days, so this is before I could drink. But you just kind of like you'd still have fun watching the football. And then you go into the stadium. So the end I'd usually sit in would be the Rainham end, which is like, I don't know, like the equivalent of like the Stretford end at Old Trafford. It's like where the hardcore, I wouldn't say Gillingham fans are that hardcore, no offense Gillingham fans, but it's where the biggest fans.
With a pinch of salt.
Oh, you're trying to start beef there.
No, I'm just saying you can't really have or call the Gillingham end the equivalent to the Stretford end. I just think.
You know what I'm trying to say? It's where like the biggest fans go. It's not the same. I had some great times in the Rainham end. I love it as well. Like I'd usually sit on the right side, usually sit on the right side, and I remember like one of the biggest chants was like, "We are the right, so we are the right, so we are the right side, Rainham, man." And then the other side's like, "We are the left, so we are the left." That would go on for ages. Like great fun.
That's probably going to go on for ages when I edit this video.
Yeah, just do it multiple times. Clip it up. I don't mind. So usually sit in the Rainham end. I'll talk about that. The best thing about the Rainham end is like to get into it. There's like a little kind of like pathway at the bottom that you can like get to the stands.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever there was a goal, you just run down the front, and we usually sit at the bottom of the stand. So like everyone will just pile in like a massive, like kind of like not a bundle. It's not that like, I don't know, aggressive or whatever. But everyone will just kind of like go in, like just go crazy. You're just kind of like hugging random people, like just going mad. If there was a penalty, everyone would like kind of congregate around the back of the goal. If it was a penalty to the other side, everyone would just be like shouting abuse at the penalty taker. That's one of the best things, is just because we sat near the bottom, just running in whenever there's a goal, just kind of running around, like, which is not really what you get. Like whenever else I've gone to a football game, you kind of just standing in your chair, like, yeah, but I just remember like being able to just run and just go mad. It didn't always go well. I do remember one time I was just like pelting it after a goal, knocked over this little ginger kid who must have been about 6 or 7. Like I was running, didn't see him, knocked him on the ground. I was like, shit, sorry mate, you're all right. Like picked him up and like went through. But it wasn't my proudest moment, but I think he was fine. But that's one of my abiding memories. You got that stand, which is like one of the end stands. You've got the two kind of side stands, and then you've got what has been a temporary stand since 2003. It's literally Like, I can't think how to describe it, but it is temporary, like in every sense of the word. Like, it's just like scaffolding. There's no roof at all. That's where the away fans go as well. So as you can imagine, if it rains, if it snows, they get absolutely fucked. And it's quite funny actually, because you just kind of, if we're beating them and the away fans are kind of there, you just kind of see them getting rained on. You're just like it's great. It's great.
Well, luckily Gillingham, so there won't be many away fans wanting to go for a away trip there.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. I actually, do you know what? I mean, you probably won't like this. I remember going to a pre-season friendly there against Hearts, and there were so many Hearts fans. Like, this was probably like 3 weeks before the season started. It was bigger like than some of the league games I've been to, and they were like proper vocal as well.
To be fair, Gillingham's probably the right standard for them now because they're in the Championship.
It's true. That is true, actually. Whoa, that's harsh on Gillingham.
No, it's not. Hearts, right? I don't like them, but they are Scottish Premiership side. They should not be down there. You know, smaller teams like St Mirren and stuff like that should. But we'll get back onto Gillingham and real quality football.
Yeah.
Right, so go number 3 favorite game.
So my third favourite game was a FA Cup game. So this was actually the season that I was on about when Gillingham got promoted to League One. So this was FA Cup third round. So what, like 4.5 months before the playoff final. So like midway through the season. Gillingham versus Aston Villa. So this was Aston Villa under Martin O'Neill. I don't know if you remember, but in the 08-09 season, I think they ended up finishing sixth, but they were, I think at that point they were like maybe like third in the league. They were like contenders for the Champions League. They had like peak Ashley Young when he was actually a winger and like really good. James Milner, John Carew. I can't remember anyone else off the top of my head. Like Gareth Barry probably, and I'm pretty sure Barry did play for them. They were just like a proper like solid team. I was sat also, by the way. So this, because it was a cup game, usually when I'd go, it's like, so Gillingham, as I said, it's about 12,000 capacity, and for league games, generally they'd probably get about 5 or 6,000. But because it was Villa, it was sold out. So I ended up sitting in the temporary end, in the shite end, getting rained on. But it was fine. It was actually a really good game. Gillingham actually really held their own. I wouldn't say that Gillingham battered them, but it was a pretty even game. But yeah, James Milner scored just before half time, which was like obviously like a bit of a downer. After really like playing better than I thought Gillingham would. Got into the second half again, quite a lot of pressure, and it paid off finally in the 57th minute. That man Simeon Jackson again. He'll come up a lot because he was a great player for Gillingham. Just a top class goal. Like, I can't remember exactly how it came about, but I just remember. Do you remember Zach Knight, the big lanky guy, like quite a big tough
Yeah, rings a
defender?
bell. I think
Simeon Jackson. Simeon Jackson must. He wasn't. I think he must have been about 5'9", 5'10". Just showed great pace, great strength, just to get past him, and absolutely smashed it into the roof of the net. And again, it's one of the kind of most celebrated goals I've ever seen at Priestfield. Everyone was going mad, like just thinking like Gillingham have equalised against a Premier League team. Absolute madness. Obviously riding high on that. Unfortunately, only for like 20 minutes because Ashley Young dived in the box in the 79th minute to win a penalty that James Milner put away, which, you know, kind of ruined it in a way. But it was just a great day out. Just that 20 minutes where Gillingham were level against this level of Aston Villa team. It was mad. I saw another one, Gillingham against Stoke, with like Crouch playing, and that had a bit of a spice to it actually because Tony Pulis used to be Gillingham manager. He didn't leave the club in the best way, but yeah, Stoke. I think it was 3-1 to Stoke. Didn't quite have the same like competitiveness, but it was still fun. But yeah, Gillingham Villa game got to be number 3.
number 3. All right. Moving on to your number 2 for Gillingham, and what's it called? It's so forgettable. Priestfield.
Think of like a holy field of priests.
Right,
That's what it
Field
is.
of Priests. Number 2.
So number 2 this was actually the first game after. It's the first game in League One after the promotion season. So again, pretty hyped game. A lot of build up. The first game in League One. A lovely, beautiful summer's day in August. And there's actually a bit of a rivalry with Swindon, from what I remember. Not sure why, but yeah, there's a lot of rivalry with Swindon, who ended up, I think they finished like third that season, so they're a pretty decent team. But yeah, this was a game I don't think I've seen. I don't remember seeing a game like this for Gillingham, which kind of speaks volumes. Basically ended up 5-0 to Gillingham. And it wasn't like one of those games where they like rush into a lead in like the first half and it kind of fizzles out. It was actually 1-0 at half time. But Gillingham scored 4 goals in the second half, including 3 in the 15 minutes. I think within like the last like 20 minutes, 3 of the goals were scored, including a hat trick for that man, Simeon Jackson. Again, I'm just doing this PR for him. Like, he was such a good player for Gills. And it was that first day of the season feeling where like you're like anything can happen. And yeah, 5-0. Unbelievable scenes.
That's massive, to be fair. To be playing your, I don't know, are they arch rivals? Gillingham and Swindon? I can
I
imagine.
don't know, if I'm being honest.
Fair
I
enough.
think they're up there.
Right, yeah, but like playing a team that you really dislike just got promoted 5-0. That's huge. And
Yeah.
especially having like, you're winning 2-0 and then to really sort of pour salt into the wound, just 3 goals in the last
Yeah.
15, mad.
Remember, it could have been more as well. It wasn't just like,
Yeah.
it was just complete annihilation.
So what tops that? What's your top one?
Yeah, you'd think that nothing could top that, but I think because it was later on in the season, so that season, we'll get on to what happened. But let me just say that Gillingham did not win. I'm pretty sure they didn't win an away game that season. Yeah, they didn't. I think it was like something like 2 years without an away win, which was weird because I only went to the home games. Well, actually, I went to one away game. We'll come on to that. So a bit more context actually. So the game was Gillingham v Leeds. In that season, there was some like pretty damn good teams in League One. So you had Southampton with the likes of like Lallana, Font, whatever he's called, Puncheon. You had Norwich in there, and you had Leeds, who obviously aren't as good as they are now, but they're Leeds at the end of the day. They're one of the big teams that you want to go see Gillingham play against. I'd been to quite a few games that season, but I hadn't actually seen one of the games against these kind of like top teams. So this was probably the first one that I've been to. And Leeds, this was, I'm not sure how many games. I think it might have been about 5 games before the end of the season. It was like April 17th kind of time. It was like, yeah, mid-April. So it's getting towards the business end. Squeaky bum time, as Fergie would say. Leeds were second by that point. Gillingham were, I think, 4th bottom, but like at the start of the game. So it was a big game. It was actually nearly a sellout, which again doesn't really happen that often for Gillingham. It's usually about half the stadium. And Gillingham rushed into a 3-0 lead. By half time, it was 3-0. It was just, I can't exactly remember the goals, but it was just out of nowhere. I was expecting a really tight game. Half time, 3-0. It was just like, I just couldn't believe what was going on. It just didn't seem like this would happen. And it was just, well, it was just like, if you ever watch a shot when you watch football, it's just something unique. Like, for example, like the Brazil 1, Germany 7, like something that just like, I'm not comparing it exactly, but just something that you don't really expect. Second half came in, Leeds scored, I think, they scored just after half time. And then it was quite a nervy second half. And then they scored again in the 87th minute. And I just remember that last, what must have been like 6-7 minutes, just like shitting myself, just there, like everyone, like you could, when you go to a game and you can just feel the tension in the air. It's just like, I was just there, like everyone was just it meant so much to the team. It was just like, it was like everyone, not better, that's not the right word. It was just like pure elation. It was just, again, running to that bit near the front, going crazy. All the players are going absolutely mad. The context for it as well is that it put Gillingham 3 points of the relegation zone. I think with about 4. I think it's about 4 games left of the season. At that point, we were like, Gillingham are staying up. It's coming home. Unbelievable scenes. but unfortunately it wasn't to be. Actually, I just want to quickly mention 2 weeks after that, on my birthday as well. This is why I remember it's the 17th, because it was on my 16th birthday. I remember it. May the 1st, Saturday, May the 1st. It was a game against Southampton, which Gillingham won 2-1. Another great game. This was the penultimate game of the season, which I think again might have taken Gillingham outside the relegation zone. A week later, it was Gillingham v Wickham, away at Wickham. Then again, as I said, Gillingham had not won an away game the whole season. This is the first Gillingham game that I'd ever been to. We went, I think, we've just beaten Southampton and Leeds. Okay, I know we're bad away from home, but like, surely when it comes to it, I don't think Wickham are that great either. You know, we're going to do it. We're going to beat them. We're going to stay up. Lost, got relegated. Just one of the worst days ever. But it doesn't sour. The Leeds game before that, there was that hope that Gillingham were going to stay up. The craziness of beating Leeds.
Yeah.
And for that reason, it has to be the best game.
Yeah. To be fair, beating Leeds, you know, obviously you and myself, we have sort of an allegiance to Man United, but Leeds at that time were just like one of those sleeping giants. And I know sort of, you know, as Celtic and, you know, and as Rangers in Scotland, if you're playing anyone in the cup, you're going to get somebody lower down in, like, you know, League One. If they get Celtic, they're going to play their fucking hearts out. And, you know, if you're playing Leeds in League One, you're going to step it up. And if you get a result against them, that's massive. And like you said, it's sold out the ground. So
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
All right, so
No,
with
it's
all of
great
those,
memory.
moving on to your top goal, what's it got to be?
So this was the mercurial winger, Andy Barcham. He, again, players at that level, the thing that often sets them apart from players at the top is they're not sets them apart in a negative way, is they're not that consistent. There was
Sets them
another player
back.
as well called Curtis Weston who was the same. Huh?
I said sets them
Says
back.
me?
No, sets them back, not sets
Yeah.
them apart.
It sets them back. There you go. They can do like stuff that you're like, wow, like surely they should be playing at a higher level, but it's just like I can't think of the word, but the term, sorry, but it just doesn't happen often enough. And Andy Barcham, the scorer of this guy I'm going to talk about, is one of those players that he had games where he looked like I don't know, trying to think of like a tricky winger off the top of my head, I can't. Maybe like kind of like not Hazard, but like that kind of winger where he could just go past players at will. But then he'd have games where he was absolute trash. Obviously, he was at a lower level as well. But he also had a decent strike in him very occasionally. And the goal that I want to pick is on his week against Millwall at home. So this was in the same League One season, end of September, I believe. So one of the first league games of the season. Again, this is actually one of the big games I did go to be fair, against Millwall. I remember Gillingham absolutely battered them, ended up 2-0. I think it was the opener from that man, Andy Barcham, about 30 yards out, comes in from the right wing. Again, he's quite a right-footed player, so it was just one of those ones where it's so unexpected. That's probably what added to it so much. Left foot, smashed it in the top corner, and like it was just again because it's against Millwall as well, and it was right in front of the Millwall fans. Just out of nowhere, banged it in. Just everyone went mental. It was just unbelievable goal, and just a technically great goal as well, just for so many reasons. Had to be number one.
Nice, yeah. Sounds like it. You're definitely giving me an education here with like all of these players that I have no clue who they are, but
It's weird. It's weird, like doing like little research for this, just looking at some of the players. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about them. Like these players that are like, a lot of them ended up playing in like the conference and stuff. Players that weren't at a great level, but they had these moments that people like me remember. Like it's kind of what football's about. Like that's what you go into football for, to
yeah,
have these moments. And
I
sounds kind
definitely
of
think I
soppy,
definitely
but
think that when you go to, you know, your League One to your non-league teams, it makes you really appreciate how talented players are in that Premier League sort of category, because you
yeah.
players who just score outrageous goals. Like I've seen, you know, a 40-yard screamer that, you know, you wouldn't sort of expect anyone that you play with
Yeah.
to score that kind of goal, but you see that like, you know, non-league, you know, lower tier league football in the UK, and it just makes you appreciate how talented players are. I remember seeing Trippier at Burnley in the warm-ups and just thinking, wow, he's a good player. So out of all of them, what's going to be your top moment overall being at Priestfield?
The Field of Priests. I'm gonna have to go for the full-time whistle. It's difficult because I would say it's probably the Leeds game, but I do remember just because of like the context of the game that it was like the way that Gillingham held out. But I'm actually going to have to change it because I remember the Southampton game 2 weeks later, which again was even more crucial because it was that much closer to the end of the season. 1-2-1, and everyone ran on the pitch. Even though, and I remember as well the Tano going, "Please do not run on the pitch." Obviously, everyone did it anyway. And yeah, it's the only ever time I've been on a pitch before. It was just pretty nutty, just like kind of running around like this is our swamp now. Like it was mad. And again, after like a great win, probably going to have to be that, to be honest.
Fair enough. I commend you for the last minute change, to be fair, because I was expecting the final whistle at the Leeds game. But yeah, to be fair, getting a run on the pitch and you didn't bully any ginger kids again, did you?
Not this time.
Good. It's not acceptable this day and age.
I've cut down on that these days.